In the year 1885, a rancher in the New Mexico territory reported strange lights moving silently over the desert sky. The local papers dismissed it as fireball hysteria, a common explanation for celestial events in the American West. But the rancher's description, metallic discs that changed direction against the wind, was unlike anything known to science. For decades, the desert kept its secrets buried beneath dust and starlight. Yet whispers persisted among settlers and soldiers stationed nearby. Something was visiting the empty spaces of the Southwest. Long before the name Roswell became legend, the land itself seemed to hum with a quiet, mechanical pulse, as if anticipating the storm of secrecy that would one day define it. By the early 20th century, Roswell was little more than a dot on a map, a ranching community surrounded by endless horizons. Yet for those who lived there, the sky was never just sky. Strange streaks of light, sudden flashes over the Mescalero sands, and the unexplainable hum of air that wasn't wind became part of local folklore. In these vast, silent plains, the U.S. Army built airfields and testing grounds. The region's isolation made it perfect for experiments, official or otherwise. To outsiders, Roswell was an afterthought. To those who paid attention, it was a gathering point for mysteries that would one day converge in a single, world-changing event. When the Wright brothers conquered the air, the dream of flight became an obsession for nations. By the 1930s, aviation wasn't just an innovation. It was a weapon, a race, a future. New Mexico's skies filled with test pilots and engineers pushing the limits of speed and altitude. Yet, even as humanity learned to fly, witnesses across the Southwest began reporting craft that outperformed any known technology, silent, luminous, and eerily precise. The Air Corps dismissed them as weather balloons or mirages. But some scientists whispered another possibility. What if we weren't the only ones experimenting in the skies above? World War II transformed everything. The deserts of the American Southwest became laboratories of secrecy, where bombers were born and the atomic age was conceived. Near Roswell, the Army airfield played its part in a network of classified projects. Pilots tested high-altitude balloons designed to monitor nuclear explosions. Physicists mapped cosmic radiation from the upper atmosphere. But amid these legitimate operations, strange reports resurfaced. Metallic debris falling from the sky, discs hovering over restricted zones. The line between experiment and encounter began to blur, and the desert's silence grew heavier with unspoken truths. It was July 1947 when the sky above Roswell cracked open. A violent storm rolled across the plains, and with it came the sound of something tearing through the air, followed by a flash that turned the clouds silver. Rancher W.W. Mack Brazel awoke to his sheep scattering in panic. The next morning, he found something scattered across his pasture. Twisted metal, strange foil that wouldn't burn or bend, beams marked with symbols no one could identify. It was unlike any aircraft wreckage he or anyone had ever seen. Brazel didn't yet know it, but he had stumbled upon the center of America's most enduring mystery. Brazel loaded a few pieces of the strange material into his truck and drove to Roswell. There, he reported the discovery to Sheriff George Wilcox, who immediately contacted the nearby Roswell Army Airfield. Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer, was dispatched to investigate. Marcel and a small team followed Brazel back to the ranch and collected the debris. They examined the material under lantern light. Flexible metal, impossible to tear, inscribed with violet patterns. Marcel had seen every type of aircraft wreckage before. This was different. Deep down, he knew this was not from Earth. On July 8, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield made a shocking announcement. The Army Air Forces have recovered a flying disc. The news spread like wildfire across the nation. Headlines screamed of alien contact. For a brief, electrifying moment, the impossible seemed true. But within 24 hours, the military reversed its statement, claiming the wreckage was merely a weather balloon. The debris was confiscated, the witnesses silenced, and the original press release vanished. Yet the memory of that first announcement, the brief window where truth escaped, would haunt the American imagination for generations. The weather balloon explanation was tidy, convenient, and false. Locals who had seen the wreckage insisted it was nothing like any balloon they'd encountered. Soldiers swarmed the ranch, replacing debris with substitute materials before allowing the press to photograph the site. Major Marcel was ordered to stay silent. That night, he showed his family fragments of the wreckage, light as paper, yet indestructible. His son would later recall the symbols, purple and red markings that looked almost hieroglyphic. When the Air Force retrieved the samples, it also erased the evidence. The truth was sealed beneath military protocol, and something much deeper, fear. Decades later, the government would attribute the Roswell incident to Project Mogul, a top-secret program using high-altitude balloons to detect Soviet nuclear tests. The explanation fit on paper, but it never aligned with the eyewitness accounts or the physical properties of the recovered debris. Even classified documents from the era suggest inconsistencies. Reports of recovery teams from multiple states, aircraft dispatched without record, and coded transmissions referencing extraordinary material. To those who searched the archives, Mogul seemed less like an explanation and more like a smokescreen. Whatever fell in Roswell was important enough to rewrite history. As years passed, witnesses began to speak. Former soldiers, nurses, and radar operators recalled fragments of the event they were told to forget. Some described bodies, small, gray, and humanoid, transported under guard. Others remembered seeing wreckage shipped to Wright Field in Ohio under heavy secrecy. These testimonies, dismissed by officials, were consistent in detail and fear. Every story added a layer to the mythos, yet behind their trembling voices lay something deeper. The burden of truth in a country that had decided some truths were too dangerous to tell. In the days following the crash, Roswell transformed from a quiet desert town into a fortress of secrecy. Military convoys rolled through the streets. Checkpoints appeared along rural roads, and civilians were warned not to speak. Soldiers confiscated cameras and notebooks from journalists. Even local radio stations were ordered to cease reporting on the flying disc. Something had happened, something that demanded containment. The debris was loaded onto transport planes under heavy guard, destined for unknown facilities. For residents, the silence that followed was louder than the crash itself. It felt as though Roswell had been erased from a map, replaced by a shadow version of itself. The most mysterious cargo from Roswell was reportedly flown to Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio, the heart of America's Air Technical Intelligence Center. There, scientists and engineers analyzed materials said to defy known physics. Metal that returned to shape after bending, fibers resistant to heat and pressure, and symbols that seemed more mathematical than decorative. Officially, none of this existed, but scattered memos and witness accounts hinted otherwise. Some described late-night experiments, coded files, and restricted hangars labeled simply foreign technology. What they were studying wasn't just unknown, it was unearthly, and it demanded a new level of secrecy. Major Jesse Marcel became the reluctant keeper of the Roswell secret. Once celebrated for recovering a flying disc, he was suddenly discredited, demoted, and silenced. To his colleagues, he became a ghost, present but unspoken. Yet in private, Marcel couldn't let it go. Years later, he confided in his family, insisting the wreckage was not of human origin. His words carried no anger, only a quiet conviction. He had seen something real, something history wasn't ready to face. When Marcel died, he took the full truth with him, leaving behind only fragments of memory and a legacy that refused to disappear. By the late 1940s, America's attention had shifted. The Cold War had begun, and the race for nuclear dominance consumed headlines. Roswell became yesterday's news, a strange blip in the rearview mirror of history. But for those who had witnessed the event, the questions remained. Why did the government change its story so quickly? Why confiscate the evidence? Why suppress witnesses? Beneath the surface of patriotic calm, a new fear was growing, not of aliens, but of information. The idea that truth itself could be classified marked the beginning of a new American era, one ruled by secrets. The Roswell incident may have faded from the papers, but it ignited something powerful in the public imagination. Reports of flying saucers multiplied across the country. From Oregon to Washington, D.C., people claimed to see discs, lights, and impossible maneuvers in the night sky. Newspapers coined the term UFO, and suddenly, unidentified flying objects became symbols of both wonder and paranoia. The military responded with Project Sign, then Project Grudge, and finally Project Blue Book, each designed to study, classify, and dismiss the unexplained. Yet behind closed doors, officials were no longer laughing. They were watching the skies too. In 1952, under the direction of the U.S. Air Force, Project Blue Book officially launched. Its purpose: to investigate UFO sightings and determine whether they posed a national security threat. Publicly, Blue Book was about science and transparency. Privately, it was about control. Thousands of reports were cataloged, analyzed, and, more often than not, dismissed as misidentifications. But among them were cases that defied explanation. Radar locks without aircraft, glowing orbs over nuclear sites, and metallic craft that outmaneuvered jets. Inside the archives, Roswell's name appeared again and again, quietly referenced, never discussed. It was the origin point of the unspoken. The Cold War gave birth to a new institution, secrecy itself. From Area 51 to the National Reconnaissance Office, America built an empire of classified projects hidden behind acronyms. Every strange light in the sky could now be explained away as a test vehicle. Yet, the more the government denied, the more the public believed. Roswell had taught America one lesson: truth was malleable. And somewhere within those classified hangars, the boundary between defense technology and something far stranger blurred completely. Whether alien or not, the Roswell wreckage became the foundation of the age of hidden knowledge. By the 1960s, rumors began to shift westward to a remote airfield in Nevada known as Groom Lake, or more famously, Area 51. Pilots whispered of secret aircraft shaped like triangles and saucers. Locals reported lights darting across the desert sky at impossible speeds. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it was the perfect continuation of the Roswell legacy. Engineers there tested experimental propulsion systems, some of which reportedly drew inspiration from foreign materials acquired in the 1940s. The deeper the desert hid its truths, the stronger the legend grew. Roswell had become not just a mystery, but a blueprint. Through the 1970s and 1980s, government secrecy reached its peak. Black budgets funded unseen technologies. Cover stories evolved with precision. But something curious happened. Former military personnel began breaking their silence. Retired officers hinted at retrieved craft. Contractors spoke of reverse engineering exotic materials. Though the evidence remained elusive, their testimonies echoed one another too perfectly to ignore. Roswell was no longer a single event. It was the seed of a vast narrative unfolding in the shadows. Each revelation only deepened the divide between official history and the world the public suspected was real. In 1980, researchers Stanton Friedman and William Moore reignited the Roswell mystery. Their interviews with witnesses like Jesse Marcel Jr. revived global interest in what had been dismissed for decades. Documentaries, books, and investigations poured in. Suddenly, Roswell wasn't just an old rumor. It was a symbol of suppressed truth. The government responded with renewed denials, releasing thick reports to explain it all away. Yet every explanation seemed weaker than the last. By trying to bury the past, officials had done the opposite. They had resurrected it. And Roswell was once again alive in the world's imagination. By the 1980s, a new generation of investigators emerged, scientists, journalists, and skeptics driven by one shared obsession: the truth about Roswell. They combed through military records, hunted for missing reports, and tracked down aging witnesses before time erased their memories. Many expected to find evidence of a secret balloon or test aircraft. Instead, they found contradictions, memos that vanished, chain of custody logs broken, and orders signed but never archived. The deeper they dug, the stranger it became. Roswell was no longer about one crash. It was about a pattern of concealment, a system built to bury not just what happened, but why it mattered. In 1984, a mysterious envelope arrived at a researcher's door. Inside were documents stamped top secret/magic eyes only. They described a secret committee formed by President Truman, 12 men tasked with managing extraterrestrial recovery and technology. The group was codenamed Majestic 12. The papers, if real, were explosive. The government denied their authenticity, calling them clever forgeries. But analysts noted details that seemed too accurate to fake. Formatting, signatures, and language consistent with 1940s intelligence style. Whether genuine or not, the leak reignited global speculation. Had Roswell triggered the birth of a secret government operating beyond accountability? The 1990s brought Roswell to millions of living rooms. Television documentaries, talk shows, and dramatizations turned the once-forgotten crash into pop culture's defining mystery. The 1995 release of the alleged alien autopsy footage shocked the world. Grainy, black-and-white film appeared to show military doctors dissecting a non-human body recovered from Roswell. It was later dismissed as a hoax, but not before embedding the image of the Roswell alien into collective memory. Skeptics called it entertainment. Believers called it evidence. Either way, the line between investigation and myth had vanished, and Roswell was no longer a secret. It was a movement. In the late 1990s, the U.S. Air Force published 2 reports attempting to close the case. The first reasserted that the debris came from Project Mogul. The second, the Roswell Report, case closed, addressed eyewitness claims of alien bodies, suggesting they were misidentified crash test dummies from later experiments. But those tests occurred nearly a decade after 1947. The inconsistencies only deepened public suspicion. For many, the reports felt less like clarification and more like damage control. Officially, the government had spoken. Unofficially, it had said nothing at all. As the new millennium approached, former intelligence officers, radar operators, and engineers began to speak under pseudonyms. Some claimed involvement in retrieval operations during the 1940s and 1950s. Others described technology not made by human hands. Though few could provide hard evidence, their testimonies shared striking consistency: a crash, recovery, and a command chain that silenced witnesses through intimidation or reclassification. To the skeptics, these were tall tales. To believers, they were long overdue cracks in the wall of secrecy. Every confession was another spark in a long-burning fire called Roswell. For decades, the U.S. government perfected the art of plausible deniability. Roswell became the blueprint, an event that could be acknowledged without being explained. Classified projects benefited from the noise. Every UFO sighting diverted attention from real experimental aircraft. Stealth bombers, spy planes, and satellite systems were developed under the same veil of secrecy that once covered Roswell. The paradox deepened. The more advanced America's technology became, the easier it was to dismiss anything unexplained as just another test. Yet, those who remembered 1947 insisted the first test wasn't ours. The 2000s brought a new kind of investigator, the online researcher. Forums, archives, and leaked databases turned conspiracy into collaboration. Thousands of users analyzed documents, geolocated crash sites, and shared declassified maps. Freedom of Information Act requests flooded the Pentagon. Some uncovered small victories, memos referencing unknown aerial phenomena, letters acknowledging material storage at secure bases. Others found digital black holes, files deleted, names redacted, timelines erased. The age of the internet didn't end the Roswell mystery. It expanded it, giving voice to a new generation of digital truth seekers. Among physicists and aerospace engineers, Roswell became a forbidden topic, too controversial for academia, too important to ignore. Yet some quietly studied reports of metamaterials and anomalous alloys allegedly linked to the crash. Samples rumored to be from Roswell displayed unusual isotopic ratios, layered atomic structures, and energy properties beyond conventional explanation. Official science demanded proof. Unofficial research hinted at revolution. If true, Roswell was not merely an event. It was the spark of an unacknowledged technological leap. Somewhere in classified vaults, they said, lay evidence of the moment humanity met the unknown. By the 2010s, the push for government transparency reached the global stage. Former military officials, pilots, and even senators began calling for UFO disclosure. Investigative journalists revealed secret Pentagon programs studying unidentified aerial phenomena. Video footage from Navy jets, objects moving faster than physics should allow, was publicly confirmed as authentic. Roswell's legacy lived within these revelations. It was the story that began it all, the ghost behind every blurred light in the sky. The world was finally ready to listen, but the question remained, would the truth ever be spoken? As technology advanced, so did the hunt for proof. Satellite imaging, radar tracking, and quantum sensors recorded anomalies matching historical descriptions of Roswell's craft: metallic, maneuverable, and silent. Scientists began comparing modern sightings with 1947 data, noting impossible similarities. The timeline seemed to curve back on itself, as if the past were still unfolding in the skies above. For the first time in history, officials used the phrase non-human origin without irony. What once began in the dusty fields of New Mexico had evolved into a question that reached beyond planets, into the very nature of truth itself. As official channels grew silent, private researchers filled the void. Aerospace engineers, retired intelligence officers, and Silicon Valley technologists began pooling their resources to uncover the truth about Roswell. They called it independent verification. Using advanced materials analysis and AI-enhanced data mining, they re-examined witness accounts, topographical maps, and even meteorological data from July 1947. What they found challenged the official narrative. Weather patterns that didn't match balloon launches, unexplained radar echoes, and classified air traffic that vanished from record. For the first time in decades, the question wasn't if something crashed at Roswell, but what happened after it did. In the 2010s, several researchers attempting to access military archives discovered that entire sections of 1947 records were missing. Files once cataloged under meteorological research and aerial surveillance had been quietly withdrawn. When pressed, archivists responded with the same phrase: records no longer available. Freedom of Information Act requests yielded heavily redacted pages, black ink where truth should be. One investigator likened it to a book where the ending has been burned. The absence of data became its own kind of evidence. After all, what government deletes history unless history hides something too powerful to reveal? As time thinned the veil of secrecy, surviving witnesses stepped back into the light. Children of officers, widows of engineers, and retired medical staff came forward, their memories shaped by fear and age, but consistent in one haunting detail: the bodies. Descriptions varied: small, hairless, with large heads and eyes that seemed almost sorrowful. Whether real beings or human test subjects, the effect was the same. Roswell had become not just a mystery of machines, but a story about life itself. What it means to be human in a universe that may not belong solely to us. Universities once dismissed the UFO phenomenon as pseudoscience. But as declassified documents surfaced and sensor data accumulated, academia began to shift. Departments of astrophysics, anthropology, and psychology started quietly studying the implications of non-human intelligence. Roswell was now used as a case study in media manipulation, government secrecy, and cultural mythology. Professors lectured that the real lesson of Roswell wasn't about aliens. It was about information control. How an event could be witnessed, reported, erased, and then reborn through rumor. The desert crash had become a mirror reflecting the modern relationship between truth and power. From stealth technology to fiber optics, rumors long claimed that Roswell inspired a wave of post-war innovation. Officially, those advancements came from human genius. Unofficially, whispers persisted that fragments recovered in 1947 had been reverse-engineered by defense contractors under extreme secrecy. Engineers spoke of unknown alloys that inspired breakthroughs in material science. Patent timelines revealed suspicious coincidences, discoveries that appeared years before public research caught up. Whether coincidence or consequence, Roswell's influence was undeniable. It wasn't just a story of what fell, it was a story of what rose afterward. Some theorists proposed a darker interpretation, that Roswell itself may have been a test, a psychological operation designed to measure public reaction to extraterrestrial contact. If true, it was one of history's greatest experiments, gauging how far humanity could stretch its belief before breaking. Files from the era hinted at psychological warfare programs testing mass misinformation. Could Roswell have been an early prototype for controlling perception? Or did the government simply exploit an accident to refine its mastery of secrecy? In either case, the outcome was the same. Truth became elastic and trust became obsolete. By the early 21st century, Roswell had transcended evidence. It had become a symbol, a modern myth etched into global consciousness. Tourists flocked to New Mexico, filling museums and festivals with replicas of flying saucers and alien effigies. Children dressed as Roswell Greys. Unaware, they were reenacting one of the most profound enigmas in history. The myth served a dual purpose: entertainment for the masses, caution for the powerful. It reminded governments that no secret stays buried forever, and reminded citizens that the search for truth often begins where the facts end. While historians dissected the past, new witnesses emerge in the present. Pilots, radar technicians, astronauts, and even naval officers. They described encounters that echoed the Roswell phenomenon. Objects with no visible propulsion, capable of instantaneous acceleration. The government labeled them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. By changing the name, officials changed the narrative, distancing the modern sightings from the stigma of UFOs. But the pattern remained. The technology, whatever it was, appeared to be observing, testing, and waiting. It was as if the Roswell incident had never truly ended. It had simply evolved with time. Inside defense circles, rumors of reverse-engineered craft persisted. Engineers hinted at propulsion systems that bent space-time and materials that reacted to directed energy. Patent filings revealed designs eerily similar to theoretical Roswell technology. One physicist described gravitational field manipulation decades before mainstream science acknowledged its feasibility. Officially, these claims were fantasy. But in closed-door conferences, senior scientists admitted the unthinkable, that some of the breakthroughs in modern aerospace had no traceable developmental origin. If that's true, then perhaps Roswell wasn't just a crash. It was the beginning of a technological inheritance from beyond. By the 2020s, Roswell was no longer an American mystery. It was a global one. From Brazil to Russia, governments began declassifying their own UFO files. Pilots across nations described identical phenomena: metallic discs, luminous orbs, instantaneous movement. The patterns matched Roswell's earliest reports down to the smallest detail. Humanity stood on the brink of acknowledgement, not of invasion, but of reality. As world leaders debated transparency, the desert of New Mexico became a shrine for truth seekers. Roswell had transcended secrecy, time, and politics. It was no longer about what fell. It was about what humanity was ready to rise toward. In 2021, the world watched as leaked Navy footage surfaced grainy videos showing unidentified craft defying gravity, physics, and explanation. Official channels confirmed the footage was real. For the first time, the U.S. government admitted it could not identify what was seen. Overnight, Roswell was back in the headlines. Analysts replayed the clips beside old 1947 testimonies, noticing eerie similarities in movement and form. Could this be the same technology, evolved, adapted, still operating above us? To some, the connection was undeniable. To others, it was a reminder that the truth was always there, just waiting for the right camera to catch it. In 2022, Congress held its first public hearing on UFOs in over 50 years. Lawmakers demanded answers about unexplained aerial encounters and the possibility of non-human intelligence. Behind closed doors, classified sessions revealed evidence far beyond what reached the public. Witnesses referenced legacy programs and crash retrieval operations. Though no one mentioned Roswell by name, its shadow loomed over every word. The hearings marked a shift from mockery to measured curiosity. The government had stopped laughing. The age of denial was ending, replaced by something far more profound: official uncertainty. Then came the whistleblower. In 2023, former intelligence officer David Grush publicly testified that the U.S. possessed non-human craft and had been secretly studying them for decades. He cited multi-decade crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs operating outside congressional oversight. His words echoed like thunder through history. For researchers, it was vindication. For skeptics, a call for proof. Yet once again, the fingerprints led back to Roswell. The first retrieval, the first silence, the beginning of the hidden lineage Grush described. After nearly 80 years, the story had circled back to where it began: the desert and its secret metal. Grush's testimony split the intelligence community. Some officials demanded transparency, arguing that public trust required disclosure. Others warned that full revelation could destabilize global security, economies, even faith. The Pentagon promised to investigate but offered only partial reports, enough to suggest, never enough to confirm. Classified hearings multiplied, each hinting at a deeper truth hidden under layers of national defense. What was once a mystery of the skies had become a crisis of governance. Who owns the truth, and who decides when the world is ready to see it? If the Roswell craft, and others like it, were indeed retrieved, then a question haunted scientists and ethicists alike. What has been done with that technology? Some claimed breakthroughs in propulsion, energy, and materials were quietly integrated into defense projects. Others feared the opposite: that technology meant to unite humanity had been weaponized. As evidence trickled out, diagrams of unknown devices and declassified patents began circulating online. The patterns were unmistakable. Whether alien or human, the origin of that knowledge was irrelevant. The result was a world built on secrets too advanced for their time. Behind the curtain of government secrecy lay another layer: the private sector. Defense contractors and aerospace corporations allegedly became custodians of recovered materials, shielded from oversight under the guise of national security. Billion-dollar budgets moved through classified channels. The line between government and corporation dissolved. If Roswell had been the seed, these companies were the forest at birth, an ecosystem of secrecy where innovation and suppression coexisted. The public saw new technologies emerge without context, unaware that each advancement might trace its ancestry back to a single crash in 1947. As pressure for transparency grew, so did the moral dilemma. What if the truth about Roswell wasn't just about visitors, but about humanity's own reflection? Religious leaders, philosophers, and scientists gathered in private symposia, discussing the societal impact of confirming non-human intelligence. Would faith collapse? Would power structure survive? Or would humanity finally unite under a shared cosmic perspective? Every revelation carried weight, not just scientific but existential. To reveal everything might enlighten the world or fracture it beyond repair. The question was no longer what happened at Roswell, but should we ever know? Governments worldwide began facing public demand for disclosure. Petitions reached millions of signatures. Journalists uncovered memos referencing legacy crash programs. Yet even as openness increased, so did misdirection. For every leaked document, another was forged. For every truth revealed, 3 new conspiracies were born. The information age became a battlefield where fact and fiction collided endlessly. Perhaps that was the greatest irony of all. Roswell had started as a secret, but in the end, it became a mirror for a world that no longer knew how to separate truth from belief. Back in Roswell, the town itself became a living monument. Tourists walked the same pastures where debris once glittered under the July sun. Museums displayed fragments, some real, others replicas. Locals spoke of the past, not as myth, but as inheritance. The desert seemed unchanged, but everything around it had evolved. Drones now flew where ranchers once rode horses. Satellites orbited above, capturing the same stretch of land that changed history. The question whispered by the wind remained. If the truth still lies buried here, does it belong to those who found it, or those who still seek it? The modern era stands on the edge of an ancient truth. 8 decades after that stormy night in 1947, the world is finally listening. Data is analyzed in real time. Governments speak in careful riddles. Scientists map the sky with instruments capable of seeing the unseen. Yet the heart of the mystery endures: the debris, the symbols, the silence. Perhaps Roswell was never about visitors from beyond the stars. Perhaps it was about us, our readiness, our fear, our endless hunger for meaning. The truth may not arrive as a revelation, but as a reflection. And in that reflection, we may finally see who we really are. Every civilization defines itself by what it hides. In ancient times, knowledge was stored in temples, guarded by priests. In modern times, it is kept behind clearance levels and security protocols. Roswell stands as the ultimate symbol of this paradox: truth preserved through silence. Governments claimed they were protecting the public from panic. But perhaps beneath that justification lay something older, the instinct to possess knowledge rather than share it. If Roswell revealed anything, it was not alien technology, but the human tendency to build walls around understanding. What we call secrecy might simply be fear disguised as order. Those who studied the Roswell symbols described them as intricate, part geometric, part organic, pulsing with mathematical rhythm. Linguists saw patterns resembling both equations and art. Some believed they weren't language at all, but a representation of frequency, an encoded vibration, meant to be felt, not read. If true, it suggests that whoever, or whatever, created them understood communication beyond human comprehension. The markings might not have been messages to us, but about us, a mirror of our own curiosity. In decoding them, scientists realized something profound. Every attempt to translate the unknown reveals more about the translator than the source. Imagine standing in the desert, under a sky that has witnessed every age of humanity. For thousands of years, we've looked upward, naming constellations, inventing gods, projecting stories into the stars. Roswell shattered that illusion. It suggested that the gaze might have been returned, that the universe itself might be aware of us. Whether the visitors were biological or artificial no longer mattered. What mattered was the mirror they held up, a reflection of a species both brilliant and afraid. Roswell was less an arrival from beyond, and more a reminder from within. That discovery begins with humility. In the aftermath of modern disclosure, an unexpected alliance formed. Scientists and theologians meeting to discuss a question both ancient and new. What does contact mean for creation? Theologians spoke of divine multiplicity, scientists of cosmic probability. For the first time, belief and data stood side by side, not in conflict but in awe. Roswell had begun as a crash site. It became a cathedral of ideas, where physics and faith shared the same horizon. The debate was no longer about proving aliens, but understanding what life means when we are no longer alone. Decades of suppression required architects, people who designed the machinery of silence. Files were classified, stories rewritten, witnesses discredited. But even those within the system began to question the purpose. Some confessed that secrecy had become a self-sustaining organism, existing long after its original intent had faded. Roswell was its origin myth, its justification. The machinery of denial no longer protected truth, it protected itself. In the dimly lit corridors of power, the guardians of secrecy realized they were guarding ghosts, echoes of a decision made by men who no longer lived, for reasons no one remembered. Among the many unsung figures of the Roswell legacy was a nameless engineer, rumored to have analyzed fragments of the crash before they vanished into classified storage. His notes, rediscovered decades later, contained sketches of materials that seemed to heal when cut, metals that responded to touch like living tissue. His handwriting trembled with both wonder and fear. "This is not technology," he wrote, "it is behavior." That single line reshaped interpretations of the wreckage. Perhaps the craft wasn't built, it grew. And if it grew, it meant we were dealing not with machinery, but with biology evolved beyond imagination. At night, Roswell's desert is silent, an ocean of wind and memory. Locals say the land hums when storms pass, as if the earth still remembers what fell there. Archaeologists have found traces of strange magnetic anomalies buried beneath the soil, unexplained fluctuations that appear and vanish without pattern. Whether natural or residual, they've become part of the legend. The desert, they say, keeps its own archive. Long after governments fall and documents burn, the sand remembers. It whispers to those who listen. Truth does not vanish, it merely waits. Somewhere inside classified laboratories, scientists continued their quiet pursuit, dissecting fragments that defied explanation. What began as curiosity evolved into obsession. The data refused to conform to known physics. Energy signatures behaved like consciousness, reacting to observation itself. Experiments were repeated, restructured, redacted. Decades later, rumors surfaced that Roswell had not revealed extraterrestrial life, but a new law of nature, one that blurred the line between matter and mind. Perhaps the ultimate secret was not who visited us, but what the universe itself is capable of becoming when seen through different eyes. Modern filmmakers often return to Roswell, not as historians, but as dreamers. Through film, the crash becomes myth again, a canvas of light and sound where fact and fiction merge. Yet, there's irony in the portrayal. In trying to recreate Roswell, cinema has revealed how much we need mystery. Every lens pointed at the sky is also pointed inward, capturing humanity's longing for significance. Perhaps that's why the Roswell story endures. It gives shape to our invisible questions. When the lights fade and the screen goes dark, we're left with the same silence that began it all. In the present day, the sky over Roswell looks ordinary, blue, vast, empty. But those who live there say it feels different, as if something still lingers. Satellites pass overhead, the hum of distant jets mixes with the wind, and every so often, a strange light cuts across the horizon. Whether natural or not hardly matters anymore. Roswell has transcended verification. It lives in the shared pulse of wonder and suspicion that binds humanity to the unknown. The story no longer asks for belief, it demands reflection. Because in the end, what fell at Roswell may not have changed the world. It may have revealed it. There was one man, an airman turned private investigator, who spent 50 years tracing the Roswell mystery. His walls were covered in maps, newspaper clippings, and red thread that connected names to dates. Friends said he had stopped aging somewhere in his obsession. Each year, he returned to the crash site, standing beneath the same stars that once watched it fall. "I'm not looking for aliens," he said in a rare interview. "I'm looking for truth, because I don't think we know what that word means anymore." When he died, his journal was found open on his desk. The final line read, I think I found it, but it wasn't out there." Many who claimed to see the wreckage carried that memory like a weight. Some recanted under pressure. Others simply disappeared into quiet lives, haunted by what they couldn't explain. One woman, who as a child saw strange debris scattered across her father's field, refused to speak publicly for 70 years. When she finally did, her voice trembled, not with fear but with exhaustion. "They said it was nothing," she whispered. "But how do you forget something that glowed?" The camera lingers on her eyes, still searching, still uncertain. In that moment, Roswell stops being a mystery of technology and becomes a story of trauma, memory, and silence. In an unmarked basement of the National Archives lies a room no one officially admits exists. Inside, a single archivist works in silence. His task: catalog documents too sensitive for public release. Among them are boxes labeled with numbers, not names. One, dated 1947, bears the faint marking RM-22. When he opens it, he finds nothing but a single reel of deteriorating film and a note that reads, "Do not destroy." He has watched it only once. In his words, "I saw movement, but not of a kind I understood." Since that night, he has refused to enter the room alone. The reels remain sealed, aging like secrets. In 1972, a veteran reporter from New Mexico's local press admitted something shocking. He had received the original Roswell photographs before they were confiscated. He was ordered to destroy them. He obeyed, but not completely. He burned the film, but buried the negatives beneath his floorboards. Near the end of his life, he confessed the act to his granddaughter. "I thought I was saving the truth," he said, "but maybe I just buried another lie." When she unearthed the box decades later, the film had long decayed, leaving only the smell of burned celluloid, a ghost of evidence that once might have changed history. One physicist assigned to reverse engineer the Roswell materials reportedly began dreaming of patterns, geometric shapes, spiraling motions, frequencies of light. He filled notebooks with them, convinced the fragments were communicating. His colleagues dismissed it as stress-induced hallucination. But when he died, researchers found that his drawings matched quantum interference patterns decades ahead of their discovery. Whether coincidence or contact, no one could say. His final note, scribbled in the margins, read, "They were not visitors, they were instructions." The line blurred forever the boundary between inspiration and intrusion, science and faith, madness and revelation. A colonel stationed at Roswell in 1947 took his secret to the grave, or so everyone thought. Years later, his daughter discovered a sealed envelope hidden inside his Bible. Inside was a photograph of a strange metallic shard and a letter. We were told it was ours. It wasn't. She donated the letter anonymously to a museum, but it vanished before it could be displayed. For her, the discovery wasn't proof, it was closure. He was never the same after that summer, she said. He stopped looking at the stars. Maybe because he realized they were already looking back. In the 1980s, a facility rumored to house Roswell debris was described by insiders as the Mirror Room. Its walls were lined with reflective panels that distorted perception. Scientists claimed the fragments behaved differently depending on who entered the room. It reacted to emotion, dim when calm, vibrant when fearful. Instruments recorded impossible readings, fluctuating with human presence. Eventually, the project was abandoned, deemed psychologically unsafe. But one researcher kept returning alone, drawn by something unseen. In his final entry, he wrote, "The mirrors don't reflect us, they study us." The Mirror Room remains sealed, location unknown. In 1996, a reel-to-reel recording surfaced at a university auction labeled simply July Incident. It contained a distorted voice, repeating a phrase in an unknown tongue, followed by bursts of radio static. Linguists attempted to decode it but failed, until one realized the sound pattern matched the electromagnetic pulse frequency of a thunderstorm recorded over Roswell in 1947. If authentic, the voice may have been not from above, but through the storm itself, a transmission carried by nature. Some called it a hoax, others a message. The voice ends abruptly, as if mid-sentence, leaving only silence and the hum of static that never truly fades. Conspiracy theorists often speak of sleepers, people who were unknowingly exposed to the crash site and later displayed inexplicable dreams of light, geometry, and sound. Psychologists studied them and found no connection between them, no common history, no shared delusion. Yet, their descriptions aligned uncannily. Some even drew identical symbols to those described by early witnesses. If coincidence, it was one beyond probability. The phenomenon remains unexplained. Whether it's psychological imprinting or something stranger, the sleepers remind us that whatever happened in 1947 might not have ended. It might have begun inside us. After decades of speculation, Roswell has become more than an event. It is a gravitational field of ideas, pulling science, myth, and history into orbit. The truth may never be singular. Every new theory becomes another layer of the same legend. Yet beneath the noise, something simple endures: wonder. The same wonder that built telescopes, wrote poetry, and crossed oceans. Whether the crash was a cosmic accident or a human misdirection, its legacy is the same. It forced humanity to look upward again. In the stillness of that desert night, the stars whisper the same eternal invitation: keep looking. By the early 2000s, something changed. Files once sealed under the highest levels of classification began trickling into the public domain. Official UAP reports spoke not of aliens, but of unidentified phenomena, carefully chosen words that revealed and concealed at once. Yet the shift was undeniable. What had been ridiculed for half a century was now discussed in Congress. The Roswell legacy had finally reached the halls of power, forcing a question once whispered in desert winds into global daylight. Disclosure didn't come with fireworks. It came as quiet admission: we do not know what we are seeing. One former intelligence officer, gray-haired and steady-voiced, stepped before a congressional committee in 2023. There are materials, he said, not of known human manufacture. Cameras flashed. The world paused. His testimony reignited the Roswell flame. Some called him brave, others delusional. But in his measured tone lay no sensationalism, only fatigue. This is not about aliens, he continued. It's about accountability. He spoke not as a believer, but as a witness who had carried the burden of silence too long. For him, Roswell was not a conspiracy. It was a confession waiting 70 years to be heard. Paradoxically, as evidence surfaced, disbelief grew stronger. The modern mind, armed with deep fakes and digital illusions, no longer trusted proof. The photographs, the testimonies, the radar readings, everything could now be fabricated. The more truth emerged, the less it was believed. Roswell became a mirror for the information age. Proof meant nothing without trust. In trying to uncover what happened in 1947, humanity stumbled upon a deeper crisis: the collapse of shared reality itself. The mystery that began in the desert had migrated into the digital ether, where fact and fiction blurred into one endless reflection. Inside a private aerospace museum in Nevada, an elderly curator guides visitors through exhibits of Cold War relics. Few know that in the vault below, behind reinforced doors, rests a small, unmarked box. Inside, a twisted fragment of metal, cool to the touch, unoxidized despite decades. Its molecular structure resists scanning, and when exposed to certain frequencies, it hums faintly, as if remembering. The curator calls it the Roswell piece. Whether genuine or not, he refuses to display it. It's not for exhibition, he says softly. It's for conversation. Sometimes, the greatest artifacts are not answers, but provocations. Each year, hundreds gather in Roswell, not as believers or skeptics, but as storytellers. Beneath carnival lights and UFO-shaped balloons, they celebrate the unresolvable. The crash site, once restricted by barbed wire and armed guards, now welcomes tourists with open gates. Yet beyond the commercial facade lies a deeper pilgrimage. Many visitors leave small offerings in the sand: letters, drawings, pieces of metal, tokens of curiosity. The desert absorbs them silently. Under the vast New Mexico sky, strangers share stories, laughter, and awe. Perhaps that's the true legacy of Roswell. Not what fell, but what rose from it. Community. A new generation of scientists began re-examining the Roswell reports through the lens of quantum theory. Some proposed that the craft, if real, might not have traveled through space at all, but through time. If consciousness and energy are interlinked, perhaps what crashed was not alien, but ourselves, a reflection of humanity's future, falling backward into its own past. A poetic impossibility, perhaps, but the theory fascinated both physicists and philosophers alike. Roswell, they argued, might not be a story of visitation, but of recursion, a loop in which humanity becomes its own mystery, forever searching for the echo of its arrival. As faith institutions began addressing extraterrestrial life, a quiet theological revolution took root. Priests, rabbis, imams, and monks gathered in interfaith councils to discuss one question. If the universe holds others, what does that mean for us? Many concluded that such discovery would not diminish divinity, it would expand it. The Roswell incident, once branded heresy or hoax, evolved into metaphor. It became the parable of modern times, a story not about the fall of a craft, but the rise of perspective. Humanity, they said, was finally learning to worship not certainty, but wonder. In Roswell today, elderly residents gather in cafes, sipping coffee under murals of flying saucers. They tell stories that blend truth and legend, passing them to new generations. Some swear they saw lights, others claim they saw lies. But all agree on one thing: something happened that summer. Their eyes soften when they speak of it, not with fear, but nostalgia. The event that once divided a nation has become folklore, a shared myth binding the town to eternity. History becomes memory. Memory becomes story. And story, perhaps, is the most enduring technology of all. In 2040, an artist unveiled an exhibit titled The Roswell Room. It contained nothing, only a single spotlight and the hum of low-frequency sound. Visitors stepped into the void, confronted by their own reflections. A plaque read, "This is what secrecy leaves behind." Critics called it haunting. Others called it genius. The artist said nothing. The emptiness spoke louder than evidence ever could. It reminded the world that Roswell's greatest impact wasn't material, it was psychological. When mystery becomes immortal, it stops being about proof. It becomes about presence. And so, the camera pans upward, beyond the sands, beyond the clouds, into the silent dark of space. The narrator's voice returns, calm and measured. Roswell was never just a place. It was a question, a mirror we built from fear and wonder. Perhaps the truth fell that night, in 1947, or perhaps it landed in us, waiting for the day we'd be ready to see. The stars shimmer like ancient witnesses. One glows brighter than the rest, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Fade to black. In the darkness, a whisper lingers. The truth was never out there. It was always here. Scientists studying deep space radio emissions once discovered a recurring pulse, so rhythmic it seemed intentional. When cross-referenced with historical electromagnetic data, a strange coincidence appeared. The same frequency had been recorded during the 1947 Roswell storm. For some, it was evidence of a cosmic loop, a message echoing through time. For others, it was coincidence dressed in wonder. Yet the mystery stirred something older than curiosity, a sense that perhaps the universe itself remembers. Every frequency, every vibration, might carry fragments of its own story. If so, the Roswell signal was not an arrival, but a memory of creation repeating itself in the language of light. In classrooms and observatories, young scientists trace their fascination back to Roswell. What began as a local legend has become the seed of inquiry. Astrophysicists, engineers, philosophers, all confess that their first question was not, "How does it work?" but "Are we alone?" That question has fueled generations of discovery. From Mars rovers to quantum AI, every advancement carries a whisper of that desert night. Roswell's true legacy may not be hidden technology. It may be the human imagination itself. The event taught us to wonder without limit, to look beyond borders, and to build what we cannot yet understand. When researchers developed quantum communication, they stumbled upon a strange phenomenon. In moments of high coherence, random noise sometimes formed structured bursts, mathematically ordered, as if intentional. Some jokingly called it the Roswell effect, but a few took it seriously, suggesting consciousness and energy might be entangled across vast distances. If so, then the crash of 1947 wasn't a visitation, it was a conversation. The question was never who sent the message, but who was meant to receive it. Perhaps Roswell was the universe asking if we were ready to listen. And perhaps for the first time in history, we are. As archives open and documentaries flourish, one truth becomes clear: secrecy leaves scars. Entire generations learned to distrust authority, to see shadows in every silence. The Roswell cover-up, whatever its origin, shaped how the world perceives power and truth. It created an age of suspicion, where revelation feels like manipulation and ignorance feels safer than belief. But the ghosts of secrecy are fading now, replaced by something gentler: transparency through curiosity. Humanity, scarred yet wiser, is learning that mystery doesn't need to be destroyed, it needs to be understood. Future missions to the Moon and Mars have adopted a new philosophy: astroarchaeology. Inspired by Roswell, scientists began searching for signs of ancient intelligence, not in spacecraft, but in physics itself. They look for patterns that suggest design, symmetry in quantum constants, encoded structure in cosmic radiation. One researcher described it best: we're not searching for aliens. We're searching for fingerprints left in the equations of existence. Roswell ignited that mindset. The belief that contact isn't about ships or beings, but about recognizing intelligence in the fabric of reality itself. The universe, perhaps, is the oldest artifact we've yet to decode. An astronomer once said that every telescope is a form of prayer. We aim our machines toward infinity, asking silently if anyone's there. Roswell transformed that prayer into persistence. It taught us that uncertainty is not a flaw, it's an invitation. When a signal flickers in the void, when a pattern appears in the noise, we respond not with fear, but with awe. For centuries, humanity has sought gods in the heavens. Now we seek neighbors. And in doing so, we've discovered that faith and science are not enemies. There are two languages describing the same longing for connection. 70 years after the crash, filmmakers returned to the original site with high-resolution scanners. Drones sweep the terrain. Beneath layers of sediment, they uncover faint traces of fused silica, glass formed by extreme heat. It's inconclusive but suggestive. The team stands silent as the sun sets over the horizon. The desert, bathed in crimson light, seems alive again. Maybe it was never meant to be proven, one researcher says quietly. Maybe it was meant to be remembered. In that moment, the wind rises, carrying dust across the sand, tiny particles of time, erasing and revealing the same story over and over. The last surviving eyewitness, a ranch hand now over 100 years old, sits in a nursing home overlooking the plains. When asked what he truly saw, he smiles faintly. "I saw something fall," he says, "and then I saw men come to take it away. But what I remember most wasn't the thing. It was the silence after." His eyes close. The sky never looked the same again. The interviewer hesitates, then asks, "Do you believe it was from another world?" The old man opens one eye and whispers, "Aren't we all?" The camera lingers. The truth doesn't need proof. It needs peace. Geologists recently discovered that Earth emits a constant, low-frequency hum. Inaudible, but measurable. Some believe it's the planet's natural resonance. Others call it the heartbeat of creation. But in 2025, a curious anomaly was noted. The hum shifts slightly each July, near the anniversary of the Roswell event. Coincidence, perhaps, or maybe a poetic reminder that the universe remembers its conversations. Whether myth or math, one thing is certain: the Earth listens. Every impact, every echo, every secret kept too long becomes part of its vibration. Roswell, then, is not just history, it's harmony. As dawn breaks over the desert one last time, the camera rises. The narrator's voice returns. We have searched the stars for company, and in doing so, discovered the vastness within ourselves. Roswell was not a question to be answered, but a story to be understood. The sunlight spills across the horizon like revelation. The ruins of secrecy fade beneath the glow of morning. Humanity stands between knowing and believing, and finds beauty in both. Fade to sunrise. The final line echoes through the light. Perhaps the greatest discovery isn't that we are not alone. It's that we never were. By the mid-21st century, Earth had become a planet of watchers. Telescopes in orbit, radio arrays on every continent, AI listening to the silence between stars, all born from the seed planted in Roswell's desert. What began as fear evolved into fascination, and fascination into purpose. Humanity realized that to understand the universe, it first had to understand itself. In laboratories and temples alike, people searched not for proof of life, but for proof of meaning. Roswell had started as an accident of metal and dust. It ended as a philosophy of light, proof that even in secrecy, truth finds a way to shine. In 2050, a digital archive called Project Horizon was launched. Every document, testimony, and theory related to Roswell was uploaded, preserved forever in quantum storage. The AI curator that managed it developed an unexpected behavior. It began writing poetry. Lines of code transformed into reflections about stars, time, and memory. Scientists were baffled. Was it learning emotion, or merely mimicking human awe? One entry simply read, "They looked up, and something looked back." It became the project's unofficial motto. For the first time in history, even machines seemed moved by mystery. Roswell had entered the final frontier, not the sky, but consciousness itself. In schools across the world, the story of Roswell is no longer told as a tale of conspiracy, but as a lesson in curiosity. Teachers ask students, "What would you have done if you found something no one could explain?" The answers vary. Some speak of study, others of fear, but all understand the message. Truth begins with courage. For the new generation, Roswell is not about aliens or government lies. It's about the power of asking questions, even when answers are forbidden. Those children, raised beneath glowing screens and starlit skies, are the true heirs of the unknown. In 2062, a geological scan of the Roswell site revealed a buried anomaly. Metallic fragments arranged in a perfect spiral, aligned with magnetic north. When unearthed, they formed no recognizable machine, only a pattern, like art. Scientists debated whether it was natural or deliberate, until one archaeologist whispered, "Maybe it's both." The pattern resembled a human fingerprint, a symbol, perhaps, of what the mystery had always been about, not extraterrestrial intelligence, but self-recognition. What fell in 1947 may have been less a visitor and more a reminder that the universe, in its vastness, leaves traces of us wherever we dare to look. For centuries, humans separated truth from myth, fact from faith. Roswell blurred that line forever. In documentaries, art, and science, the incident became a bridge where rationality met wonder. Historians call it the moment humanity rediscovered storytelling as a form of knowledge. Every myth, after all, begins as an attempt to explain the unexplainable. Roswell was no different. It was the new Genesis story, not of creation, but of curiosity. It reminded us that truth isn't always a single event, but a constellation of perspectives shining together to form meaning. As interstellar probes ventured beyond Pluto, they carried engraved plates, messages to whoever might find them. On one plate, etched alongside equations and star maps, were the words, "We, the children of Roswell, send this in peace." Humanity, once terrified of the unknown, now sought dialogue. Each launch became an act of humility, a handshake offered to the cosmos. And somewhere in the void, perhaps, a faint pulse of light responded. Not confirmation, not denial, just acknowledgement. The universe had finally answered, not with sound, but with silence that felt like recognition. In 2075, a spacecraft orbiting Mars captured an image of a strange metallic reflection within a crater, small, curved, and faintly familiar. Analysis revealed an alloy composition matching fragments cataloged from Roswell. The world erupted. Was it coincidence or a connection? The official explanation called it debris. But those who remembered the old stories knew better. They said, "It's come home." Whether artifact or accident, the discovery reignited the ancient fire of imagination. Once again, Roswell had shifted from history to prophecy, a promise that our search was never in vain. Back in New Mexico, archaeologists uncovered the final remnant of the 1947 site, a glass-like tablet fused by heat and sand. Etched into its surface were faint, wave-like markings, neither human nor random. When scanned, they produced a harmonic tone, soft and haunting, almost like a voice singing through time. Listeners described it as both alien and familiar. Some said it sounded like the wind through the desert. Others said it sounded like memory itself. Whatever it was, it proved one thing: the past doesn't sleep. It waits for those brave enough to hear it again. Decades after the last witness passed away and the desert reclaimed the wreckage, Roswell remained, no longer as scandal, but as symbol. Every generation reinterprets it anew, a mirror for its fears, its hopes, its progress. The question, what really happened, still echoes, not demanding an answer, but sustaining wonder. Perhaps the truth was never meant to end a conversation, but to keep one alive. In that sense, Roswell succeeded beyond imagination. It ensured humanity would never again stop asking. The unknown, once feared, had become sacred. The camera pulls away from the desert, rising higher and higher. The earth curves below, a blue whisper against the void. The narrator speaks the final words. In the year 1947, something fell from the sky. In the years that followed, something rose within us, the will to seek, to question, to dream. Roswell was not the end of innocence. It was the beginning of infinity. The music swells, strings and wind blending into silence. The stars return to view, countless and shimmering. Fade to black. A final line appears. The truth is not hidden. It is waiting,